Welcome to The Storytellers, the radio show and podcast that features those who choose to leave their mark on the world through the art of story. I'm your host, Grace Salmon. I look forward to our time together today. Now, let's meet our storyteller.
Welcome to episode 87 of The Storytellers, because today we have two amazing guests, Jody Feagan and Katie Rountree. They're going to talk to us about their own storytelling lives and 100 women who care. Katie Rountree has on-air television personality work. She does voiceovers around the world. She, along with her partner, Jody Feagan, have created 100 Women Who Care. Jody is also representing the same organization in New Mexico, in San Miguel de Allende. They focus on writing workshops, creating so many people who have learned to leave their mark on the world through the art of story. Jody and Katie, welcome to the Storytellers microphone.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you because, as you know, the Storytellers is about people who want to leave their mark on the world through the art of story. And both of you have done that through your own writing and through writing workshops. So I'd like you to talk just a little bit about your own love of story before we talk about 100 Women Who Care. Who would like to start?
Well, I'll jump in. Gosh, it's been about 18 years ago. I was living in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico, and I was producing some small writing workshops for writers to come down, and decided to start an international writers conference. So I founded the San Miguel Writers Conference and Literary Festival. It's now in its 18th year. I've passed the torch on a long time ago, but I've always loved stories, authors, appreciate, the work that goes into that. Coming back to the States, I teamed up with my best friend, Katie, and we decided to start producing similar workshops in Aspen, where I was living. We were in Vail, we were in Santa Fe, we were in Los Angeles. Tell them a little bit about that, Katie.
Well, that's wonderful that you mentioned it, because actually we started Women of Our Words with Amy Ferris. And when you talk about story, our idea to start these Women of Our Words workshops were we were going to help people with their novels, with their screenplays. And at the very first one that we did in Aspen, if you'll remember, Amy asked the first question of the first person of the group and just said, "Tell us your story." Well, at that moment, she just gave us the most heartfelt information about her life, not anything to do with what she was writing or anything else. And from that, it changed everything in the room. Every person in that room started telling us about their struggles and, what they had gone through. And that changed Women of Our Words. It then became more prompts of people really having a safe place to talk about what they wanted to write, but also writing their story and their heartfelt stories and giving them the safe place to do that. So that's interesting, that destiny just changed it from asking, "What's your story?"
And I love that you said that and brought in the fabulous Amy Ferris, who's the person who connected us. And so I'm so grateful for that. The tagline of my book, The Eves, is "When our stories are told, everything changes." And that tagline came very late. I needed a tagline for the book, and I was driving along, and there it was. But, Katie, when you say that, I so firmly believe that now. So why do you think the power of storytelling changes things so much?
Well, with story too, I really feel story is the thing that tells us about our past. It tells us about our future. And without story, we just wouldn't be the population that we are. We wouldn't be the humans that we are. Story is everything. And once you can get it out, it either helps, it hurts, it helps other people. So story is so important. We have, just briefly, a little thing called the Aunties that we're putting on. I work for Performance Santa Fe, and it's 3 matriarchs from the indigenous culture in New Mexico, and they'll be telling their stories because a lot of the matriarchs were lost during COVID. And I'm so excited about that because story is just so important.
Oh, I love that. And I get out to New Mexico quite a bit, so I'd love to be able to see that performance. Jody, let's go to you for a bit and talk about 100 Women Who Care in both places.
Yes. So I was living in Colorado after I had lived in Mexico for 10 years. But my heart was also back in Santa Fe. I knew I wanted to be back there. I lived there 30 years ago. Katie was there. So I had made a plan to move back to Santa Fe. But even before I moved back, I was working part-time helping produce some Art Santa Fe, an art festival there. And as I was coming back and forth, I reached out to Katie and I said, I really want to start this organization called 100 Women Who Care. And I want to do it in Santa Fe because I want to build a community there in Santa Fe of like-minded women who want to make a difference in where we live. And I really believe that making a difference in this world starts in the community that you're from. So we got together and Katie found a couple of other ladies that that she knew that had a similar passion. And our very first group was just 20 women. But the idea, and I didn't come up with the concept, I just took that concept and remodeled it a little bit for Santa Fe and then even remodeled it a little bit for San Miguel de Allende. But we meet 4 times a year for 1 hour. We put the names of local nonprofits in a hat and we pull out 3 and we hear a 5-minute presentation from each of those nonprofits. And then as a group, we vote, and whichever one receives the most votes, we all write our checks, $100, 100 women, we raise $10,000 in 1 hour and we're done. And it is the simplest way. There's no silent auctions, there's no galas, there's no elaborate, there's no expense. We have zero overhead. The checks are written directly to the nonprofits. I mean, it's so beautifully simple, and it's just grown. We have over 350 women in Santa Fe now. And if you can't afford $100, then you partner with someone and put in 50 and you share the vote. So it's been beautiful. And we're actually
It just froze for a second.
Yes, Jody, you have frozen just for a moment. So
I'll just follow up. Oh, there she's back.
There, Jody, welcome back. You froze for just a moment. So you now have over 300 women, and it sounds like a very light lift in terms of no overhead, et cetera. I'm sure it's not as light as you make it sound. But how much money have you both raised now through this organization?
Over $600,000 for Santa Fe, and another about 500,000. It's in pesos, so it's like 2.5 million pesos in San Miguel de Allende. So close to $1 million in just a short amount of time, a little over 10 years.
We've also been helping other groups in New Mexico get started. So we helped one get started in Albuquerque, and we're reaching out to someone in Las Cruces. And one of our goals is to have 1,000 women who care in New Mexico. And the way we want to do that is by drawing the numbers together from the other 100 women. They can run theirs however they like, but wouldn't that be a story for New Mexico, a goodwill story, 1,000 women who care? We just know it'll be a New York Times article just to say, this is what we're doing in New Mexico, because we need all the good news we can have here.
Well, you do. I mean, your state has so many challenges in terms of poverty issues and education issues. So I've started several nonprofits myself, so I'm fascinated by this work that you do. Talk more, and maybe back to you, Katie, talk about the way that you impact women so they can tell their stories. I think you call it ripples?
Well, the Ripples with 100 Women, we're compiling many of the stories from what happens after our meetings. We have the meeting, everyone writes their check. The next meeting's not for 3 more months, but we'll start to hear these little ripples from people, such as there was an organization called Dreamers, and they offered free legal advice to immigrants coming into the country, and we donated money to them, of course. But their story was, one time the head of the Dreamers organization was closing up her office. It was dusk. She was walking through the parking lot, and a little boy, I never can tell this story without crying. A little boy, all by himself, came with a note around his neck. And she just knew then that he was alone. He was told to go to her for help, and that she was going to have to find him a place to stay and get food and all of that. So we heard about that ripple. Another one that we just love. There's only one private hospice house in New Mexico, in Santa Fe rather, and he presented his need for funding, and it was for RN nurses, but it was also for the mortgage. And several days later, he called me and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but one of your members called me. They have a private foundation and they're going to pay off your mortgage." And these are ripples. These are the ripples we talk about. And there's so many, there's hundreds of them through the years, but these are the ripples where Jody and I just go, well, we can never stop this. We can never.
Those two stories alone just give me chills in all the right ways. I think sometimes, I know I feel disempowered. There's so much to do.
Right.
Where do I begin?
Yes.
And how do I do that? And there are ways that each of us can make differences, even if we don't have $400, which
It's true.
we can partner with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Jody, one of the things I know through the art of storytelling and listening to these is that we ourselves are changed by listening to stories. So how has your work changed you?
Well, when I hear these stories about how, we, not just, being able to write a check, but how, how it has created these ripples. What's a really wonderful element about 100 Women Who Care too is that we offer a platform for these nonprofits. So not only do they get up and present information about who they are and what they do, but they also come back the following meeting and talk about how the money was spent. And we're always hearing from those nonprofits how people have found out about them, and then their phones start ringing, and they get more volunteers, or they'll get extra donations, or it makes a huge difference. And so it just makes all that we do just so motivating. I every day I just get up and I just go, what can we do now? How can we help? How can we expand this? What should we do next? And it just hearing those stories are just what makes me want to do more. And it's just so motivating because we made a difference. We really have. We can see it. We hear about it.
And it's all in your own community too. So you get to grow that exponentially. Katie, same question for you. It sounds like Jody was the impetus for some of this work, if not at least the catalyst for the start of it. How has this work changed you?
Well, as Jody and I have known each other for 30 years, maybe, a little bit longer than that. And all during those years, we kept trying to come up with something to make a difference. But we realized too, our $25 check is, I have one nonprofit here that I absolutely love. They're a homeless shelter that allows families to stay together. And I would always donate my $25 to them, or try to a few volunteer hours. But both of us working full time, we never had volunteer hours, and our $25 wasn't going to make a big difference. So when we heard about the model, when Jody heard that model of the woman that started the whole thing, 100 Women Who Care in Michigan, it was the perfect thing for us to do. Absolutely the perfect way to get it started here. But the other things that we have done through the years, let's say Women of Our Words, starting that with Amy, those stories that the people tell, we have received such feedback from those people, how just being able to write their story in a safe place changed their lives. Some say it saved their lives. So to be able to hear that as well just gives us more inspiration and more motivation to do both, to let people have a safe place to write, to give all of these wonderful nonprofits an outlet, a voice, a platform to tell about the great work that they're doing. We feel like you do, Grace. We're overwhelmed with all that needs to be done in the world. And every day, as Jody mentioned, what can we do to help? And this is just a drop in the bucket, a drop with 100 Women. There's so much more that Jody and I want to do, that we'll try to do, but we just know we'll keep doing what we can. But everybody, I always felt whatever crosses your path, you have to take care of it if it crosses your path. Otherwise, the path is too big. We can't do everything. But when it comes to you just have to take a stand and do something. You have to get motivated.
And I don't want you to downplay, you just a drop in the bucket, $1 million worth of drops in the bucket is very, very impressive. Let's talk more about the writing part of it, because many of our listeners are so fascinated by the art of story. I've read that you want to create a place that's meant to inspire, enrich, entertain, and connect. How does that work?
Oh, Jody. Yeah, and I think that she'll probably jump back on, hopefully, but till she gets back on. Again,
we'd be happy to have her back.
Yeah, we have Women to Women. So we also have that we started, and that's a place where women can connect in all different areas. People that are new to, there she is. I was just telling them about Women to Women. So if we inspire, connect, Jody wanted to reach out, and a lot of the people in 100 Women wanted more time together than the hour. So we created Women to Women, where they connect, inspire, tell us about their business, tell us about their lives, meet people, begin their little community together. Those have been wonderful. And that's like a once a month luncheon.
And then in our spare time, Katie and I have also, we've organized the last 2 years a all women's writers conference in Santa Fe at the La Fonda Hotel. And this last
Katie, tell us about La Fonda Hotel, because unfortunately Jody is having internet connections today.
Yes, we brought in over 100 women from all over the world, actually, internationally and nationally, to La Fonda Hotel. And that is a week-long writers retreat. And lots of authors are involved, 12 or more authors are involved. And that's a wonderful place for people to connect, for people to read, for people to take the different classes. It's your normal writers retreat, but it's so inspiring. And Santa Fe is such a magical, inspiring place that I think it opens up something in people that they never dreamed would open up in a writers retreat. There's something spiritual about Santa Fe. There's something magical here, and that really helps. So we want to continue that as well.
And La Fonda Hotel has such a wonderful historical background as one of the Harvey hotels, as one of the last 4 standing Harvey hotels, I think, in the world. So a great story in and of itself, just the hotel. Katie, we are almost out of time. There are so many ways that people will want to connect with you and with Jody. So tell us how they can do that through their 2 different venues, if you will, the writing and the 100 Women.
Yes. So if you want to connect with 100 Women, we'd also be happy to help anybody in any community start their own chapter. We created a little booklet. We created a how-to. So we're happy to offer that to anybody that would like to have it. And you can reach us by 100womenwhocaresantafe.com. And you can go on our website. It's the same thing, 100 Women Who Care Santa Fe. So please reach out that way. You can also email us. If you would like to email us, it's feagan.jody@gmail.com, or you can email me at Rountree. I was just giving out our website, Jody, for 100 Women. And I just gave your email address, and mine is rustree@aol.com.
Well, I know that I'm going to follow up, but I have started multiple businesses, and I'm thinking I could probably find 100 authors who care.
Fantastic.
So you and I, Katie and Jody, we will have follow-on conversation, but I wanted to thank you so much for sharing your stories and helping other women share their stories as well. Thanks for being guests on The Storytellers.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
This has been a copyrighted episode of The Storytellers by Grace Salmon and Authors on the Air, Global Radio Network.
That concludes this episode of The Storytellers. I'm so glad you could be part of the story today. I hope you share the stories, tell your own, and come back for another episode, because when our stories are told, everything changes. I'm Grace Salmon.